Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, the Drafted Up podcast. Today, we're diving into the Couch Scout series. We're finally giving you guys the wide receiver position, and this is our last offensive position group. So we'll be switching over to the defensive side. Before we dive in, you know where to find us. We're over on Twitter/X at DraftedUp_pod. But more importantly, like, rate, subscribe, review, share, do all you can to support the show. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast, we'll be there. Search Drafted Up Podcast and, do the deed. Smash that subscribe button if you're new here. We appreciate all, anybody who listens regularly. New people, welcome to the show. That's Nick. I'm Theo. How you doing?
Doing good. Thinking about receivers all day at work, dude. Grinding it. Thinking about the list on the way home. It's been hours of receiver work the last week.
There's a lot of guys who are like in the same bucket who just could have moved around. I was messaging you about a certain guy who ran a poor 40 at his pro day, and I dropped him 2 spots on my list, but still a fan. We'll get to him then.
There's a lot of like 3rd, 4th, even 5th round guys that you can just swap around, dude. Like this, it's not a loaded class, but it's a very, like, a lot of these guys are going to be depth guys, 4 receivers, 5th receivers on a team. And they're just going to be NFL players at the end of the day. And they're not going to be stars, but a lot of these guys are going to be playing for a decent amount of time.
The receiving class really resembles the draft class as a whole. Not a lot up top.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's a lot in the middle rounds, and you can move guys around all over the place, where like I've seen some guys in people's top 5s who are barely in my top 20. And like it's just a really open-ending class in my eyes. But I like that because it's way different than last year, last year was real top heavy. We had Marv, we had Malik, we had BTJ, we had Rome. And then after that, it just kind of fluctuated. It was Ladd, there's Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell, guys like that. Whereas like this class, there's 1, maybe 2 guys at the top, and then 2 or 3 guys after that who kind of fall into that Ladd McConkey territory, and then everything else is just in the open in my eyes. Yeah,
if you're looking at not Travis Hunter, I would say there's like 2 guys at the top. But if you're counting Hunter, I would say there's 3. But then it kind of just trickles down from there. I think there's 2 guys under those guys that are in the same bucket, and then 4 or 5 guys that are in the same bucket, and then it just keeps growing bucket sizes, dude.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of slot guys in this class.
I like it.
Like I noticed that while I was doing my report, I'm just like, slot receiver. Played a little bit all over, will likely be a slot receiver at the next level. But hey, those guys are effective. Like Ladd McConkey, a slot receiver, and he was incredible as a rookie for the LA Chargers.
Amon-Ra's a slot receiver.
Yeah, he's the number 1.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors plays a lot out of the slot. CeeDee Lamb is a lot out of the slot. Justin Jefferson was a strictly slot receiver in college, and then obviously transitioned to the outside. Being a slot receiver is not what it is 8 years ago. It's not Wes Welker. It's not a guy that can strictly play slot.
It's not a demeaning thing. Where it's just like, that guy's a slot receiver.
Yeah, and that was the label Wes Welker had for years. He's good, but he's just a slot receiver. And nowadays, slot receivers they're needed, dude. They're a huge part of an NFL offense.
Yeah, teams running more 12 personnel than 11. 12 is 2 tight ends. Before we jump into the receivers, congratulations on the New York Giants. You guys got a quarterback.
Woo! I'm happy about it,
and
too.
It's not Aaron Rodgers. It's Jameis Winston, baby.
The official
you guys aren't out. Yeah, you guys aren't out of the Rodgers.
No, I don't think we're going to get him, though. I don't think he's going to sign.
I think this is a step towards Rodgers going to Pittsburgh. Winston being you guys, I wouldn't rule out Shedeur Sanders at 3 for you. I think Sanders under Winston would be really good, and then it doesn't force you into moving Sanders right into the lineup because the only other quarterback was Tommy DeVito. Now you have a guy who you can plug and play in Winston for either the whole season or half the year. If you guys are fluctuating kind of out of the playoff hunt under 500, you move Shedeur in when he's ready. So that's beneficial if Shedeur ends up in New York with Brian Daboll and your crew.
Yeah, it could be very similar to what New England did with Drake May. They sat him behind Brissett for like 7-8 weeks, and then Drake May came in and he looked good. And sitting for that long, it's good for Shedeur. He gets the NFL terms. He learns how the offense, the speed moves. I would like him behind Winston, but I'm really happy with Winston. Neighbors is a huge fantasy target coming up in the next season.
Yeah.
We're going to be hugging and chugging it, dude. The Giants haven't had a pass quarterback like this in my lifetime, to be honest. So we're going to be slinging that rock, dude.
Yeah, it's beneficial to all the weapons in New York. You know, it kind of gives a boost to Wandale and Darius. Maybe you take a shot on them late flyer in fantasy. Malik Neighbors, he's likely at worst a round 2 pick.
I agree.
I even think it helps Tyrone Tracy at running back. You know, he can get targets like Winston, not necessarily a dump off guy, but Tyrone Tracy, former receiver, he has those capabilities. And I think Winston opens up the run game for him because teams are going to be like, okay, this team can pass the ball.
Yeah, for sure. We have a guy that can actually go back there and drop back and hit Slayton or Wandale down the field. That we haven't had that. Like, even Eli didn't have a huge arm. He was a pocket passer. He really just managed games. Winston's got one of the biggest arms of football. I'm really excited to see how Brian Daboll uses it.
Yeah, me too. All right. Let's dive into the receivers. We're going to do our top 15s.
Yes, sir.
In depth, top 15. Yeah. And we'll give you our 5 guys who didn't make the list. We both happen to watch 30. So I'm interested to see how we line up here.
It's going to
hit me up with.
I think we're going to have like from 11 to 20. I think it's going to be a lot of maybe similar names, but we're not going to have them in the same boat. Like bucket wise, maybe, but we're not going to have the same spots throughout most of this, to be honest.
I hope for a structure standpoint, we don't have like the running backs where I had ETN at 5, you had, and we had to just like bounce around guys. So I'm hoping
we'll see.
There's a little bit structure here.
I mean,
but who do you got 16 through 20?
16 through 20. So everyone just buckle in, and we might be bouncing all over the place today. My 20 is Jalen Lane, Virginia Tech. 19, Pat.
Okay, he's in my top 15.
Okay. 19, Pat Bryant, Illinois. 18, Chamari Duke, Florida. 17, Troy Horton, Colorado State. And 16, Eric Ayumaner, Stanford.
Okay, Horton and Lane are both in my top 15.
Okay, I get that. I like Lane a lot. I like Horton a little more. I think he's a lot cleaner.
At 20, this is the only reason I'm disappointed we didn't get to dive into the full top 20, because I love this guy. I love Tesla. Isaac Tesla from Arkansas. Okay. Big fan. I love this game. Great combine. It kind of reminds me of Andre Yoshivas. So you kind of see where, because I was big on Yoshivas coming in from Princeton and this season with the Bengals. I have him at 20. I have Savion Williams from TCU at 19. I have Tay Felton from Maryland at 18. I have Alec Ayumanor from Stanford at 17, and I have Pat Bryant from Illinois at 16.
I got Williams in my top 15.
And Felton?
And Felton I have in my top 15, yeah.
Okay. I figured you'd have Felton because you really liked him at the Combine. Yeah. I kind of expected you to also have Williams in your top 15 because I know briefly just talking about him, you're a fan of his game. I really wanted to squeeze Pat Bryant into my top 15 because I love his game.
Yeah.
I think he's in that Tetaroa McMillan evolution where it's like Tet and then it's kind of like Jaden Higgins and then like Pat Bryant's the starter version of
he's
those
down
guys.
there for sure.
So if you miss out on Tet in round 1, Jaden Higgins in round 2, you can get Pat Bryant in round 4 or 5. But I really liked his game, but it was tough to squeeze him in. Before we jump, let's talk about Ayumanor.
Oh yeah,
he's on PFF's big board right now at number 5. I've seen him fluctuating. He's in a lot of like experts' top 10s.
His 2023 was good. He had a really good 2023.
Get into it.
His 2024 was a huge step back. He had the same amount of receptions, but 200 less yards. Same amount of tutties, 6. He had 800 yards this year, 1,000 last. He's clunky, dude. He doesn't run in and out of breaks clean enough. He's not really what I'm looking for. He could develop nicely. He really could.
Incredible athlete, had a really good combine, really good relative athletic score, but it doesn't translate to his game.
No.
Like, he's an athlete, but like for his size, he's not really good at contested catches. Like his success rate as a contested catch was like under 50%, which shouldn't be the case for how he's built. Yeah. He also had like an 8% drop rate, which is towards the top of the clock. Like he's got bad hands. He's really clunky in his routes. Like I wanted to get into him. Like, cause like I see how people have him ranked high and I'm like, okay, like This dude ripped Travis Hunter apart in 2023 for like 200 yards, and that's what everybody said. Like, oh, he burned Travis Hunter. He's the only guy to make Travis Hunter look human. Well, none of the rest of his tape is anything near that Travis Hunter game.
No.
He had that one big game, and I think that's sort of what's elevated him in people's eyes. But I just, the tape wasn't doing it for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. His 2024 tape was a huge step back compared to his 23. Like, that's not the progression you want to make. You want guys that are trekking upright. He was trekking down a little bit this year, and even his 2020.
I mean, Stanford was also really bad.
Yeah, they were horrendous this year. But even his 2023, you still seen he was clunky. He's not clean in and out of breaks. His contested ball rate, like you said, he's a 50-50 guy, and you want him to come up with those. He doesn't do that. But like he has huge hands, so he has the skill set to be able to develop nicely with an NFL receiving coach. I just right now I just don't see it on paper for him.
Yeah, I agree. The upside's there, and he's going to go
early,
way before we have.
Yeah, for sure.
But he wasn't my cup of tea.
I agree.
I had a really tough time with him, and I even did multiple dives on him. Like I kept going back to him, like seeing if there was something I was missing, and I wasn't in my eyes. But we'll see how that pans out. You just want to go 15 through 10?
Yeah, we can. Might as well get right into it.
Okay. Yeah, who you got at 15?
All right, 15, I have Tez Johnson, Oregon. 14, Kyle Williams, Washington State. 13, Ty Felton, Maryland. 12, Savon Williams, TCU. 11, Xavier Restrepo, Miami.
Okay. At 15, I have Isaiah Bond from Texas.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
At 14,
you have him higher than I thought you would.
Yeah, I ended up liking him way more than I wasn't. I thought he wasn't even going to crack my top 25.
Yeah, that's where I have him. I have him at 23. I do not like him at all.
So that's how I feel about Tez Johnson.
Okay. I get it. He's small.
Similar players too. So it kind of makes sense. So I have Isaiah Bond from Texas at 15. I have Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech at 14. You had him at 20. I Torrey Horton from Colorado State at 13. I have Trey Harris from Ole Miss at 12. And I have Jalen Royals from Utah State at 11.
I have Harris and Royals in my top 10.
Okay. Trey Harris was the other person I brought up to off air who controversially hard to rank.
I knew I was going to have him way higher than you do.
Okay. Well, I mean, we both have him I have 12, but you have him in your top 10. So let's touch base on the guys that we each differ. We'll do Bond and Tez Johnson together, but let's do Jalen Lane, Torrey Horton, and then you have Savion Williams and someone else. Okay. Start with, did you say Felton in there? Okay. Yeah, let's start with those four: Williams, Felton, Lane, and Torrey Horton. Let's start with Savion. Where'd you have him?
12.
19? 12. Okay.
So yeah, Savion I have at 12.
Yeah, I have him at 19. I'll start. I like his game. Like I think there's a spot of him in the NFL. I'm
shocked that you don't like him. He is Cordero Patterson.
He is Cordero Patterson.
He is.
And I don't know how much of his game ends up translating to the NFL as a wide receiver, which we saw with Cordero Patterson. In the right system, Cordero Patterson was an incredibly effective wide receiver. His rookie year in Minnesota was incredible. And then Norv Turner came in. He was just like, I don't like this guy. This guy is not a true wide receiver. And he just wasn't utilized from there. And then he bounced around, ended up in Atlanta where Arthur Smith converted him to a running back. And it started working again. And he had a kind of career resurrection. And then he followed Arthur Smith to Pittsburgh, where he didn't do too much this year. But I do like Savion. I think he's really good with the ball in his hands,
that's what
the
it
running
is.
back situation is. But like, I think he's not really refined as a route runner. I think he's really good after the catch. Like I said, ball in his hands. I love him. I just don't love him elsewhere. I don't think his routes are good. I don't think he's really a deep threat kind of guy. Like I think you can hit him here and there in stride, but I think more of his game translate like to a Cordarrelle Patterson, or like just like a bigger version of Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, he is. Nothing comes natural to him football wise. Like watching him, he trips in routes, he drops balls. He hit 11% drop rate. I'll openly admit that he is not a good receiver. He's a good gadget player, and that's what he's going to be used at. You can't really. He's really bad with handoffs too, so that's also a red flag. He needs to like direct snap the ball or like screen it to him. You need to plan to give him the ball. You need to fit him into your offense. And it's going to be a system thing. If you get a good offensive coordinator and a good receiving coach and is the guy that knows how to open up the game, they could do wonders with him. And he's not going to be a guy. He's not going to be a good number 2 receiver or number 3. He's just a guy that's going to have 10 to 15 targets, like possibly in a game.
Touches.
Like touches, yeah, like manufactured touches, screen passes, like quick in and out slants. He's not going to take the top off of defense either. Like he's quick, but he's not elite quick. But he like you said, dude, when he has the ball and it's him versus 3 other defenders, there's a good chance he's making all 3 of those guys miss.
Yeah, and he's really shifty.
His highlight reel is phenomenal. Like the big plays he makes are just outlandish and like insane, and people don't even make Julio Jones type of highlights. But he's so inconsistent when it comes to receiving work. So you're going to get the elite like big plays. He could take a 3-yard catch and turn it into a 70-yard touchdown in the blink of an eye because he's so shifty, he's so dynamic. But he's got a ton of red flags, dude. I wanted to have him higher just based off what he could be, but it's rough, dude. He's a rough receiver.
So for you, it is a projection.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, because I was surprised when you said 12. That was like, wow, Savion 12. That's pretty bonkers. But the upside, I could see the upside. His floor and ceiling is insane.
I think he goes really early in the draft. I don't think he falls out of the second round.
Okay, see, I think he ends up in the third.
I think he's going to end up going in the second.
But second, yeah. Okay.
I think teams are going to love him.
We'll see, but I could see that. Like, I would love him with like Chip Kelly, who's really creative in Vegas.
I get him in Pittsburgh. But give him to Arthur Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Replace, because Patterson, I don't think is there anymore. I think he was a free agent.
This is the chance that like the NFL messed up Patterson. They messed up what Patterson could have been. I don't think it happens with him. I think teams are going to know what to do with him now. Patterson was well before his time. Teams didn't know what to do with him. If you have a rookie Cordarrelle Patterson this year, he would be a game changer in the NFL, dude. What he brings from the receiving game, the running game, the return game, that's a special teams like wonder, dude. And I think Williams could have a special career here, given the right opportunity.
Yeah, the ceiling's there. I'm really weary that he can actually get to it. Like he's real. His is real scheme and team 100%. Dependent, where like he doesn't. I don't think you could plug him in everywhere else. Let's do Tay Felton. I have Savion at 19. I have Tay Felton at 18. I really wanted to get him into, like, I really like Tay Felton's tape. You ended up with him at
13, I believe, right behind Williams.
13. So we both had them back to back. I had just had Felton one spot above him, but like I love this dude's route running.
Yeah,
he's really
so
crisp.
clean, dude.
He separates. Like, Maryland has a type at wide receiver. Stefon Diggs went there, and his game style is sort of similar to that. Like, he's really good in the open field. Hit him across the middle. He's really, he can do stuff. He's really shifty, really agile, elusive. Like, and his testing numbers, they show on tape. Like, he ran a 4.3, 740. Like, you could see that speed on tape. Like, he's a field stretcher. He does stuff after the catch. It was just the lack of blocking. But I mean, he's a receiver. I'm not going to overly knock a guy for block, but like, he wasn't there. There was a ton of plays where I just saw him just kind of walk up and just like tap his guy.
He doesn't even get his hands on him. He's just kind of pushing him.
Yeah, just walks up to him. And like half the time I saw, like, anytime the running back ran to his side, it was his blocker who ended up making the tackle.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Also, wasn't overly physical in contested catch situations, but again, not his real style of play. He's more stretch the field, yards after catch guy. But I really liked him. The combine really turned me on to Tay Felton, and I think he's getting kind of no love. I haven't seen a lot of people hit him in their top 20. And like I wanted to find a way to get him in my top 15. He just missed out at 18, but like I love his game. I think he could be, yeah, at worst a wide receiver 4. I think that's his floor.
I agree.
I think he's good. Like I think he could be a high end wide receiver 3 at the next level.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's gonna have a very TJ Johnson or Theo Johnson career, whatever his name was, out of Minnesota. Like he's gonna be a team's 4, and an injury pops up, he can easily be their 3. Tyler Johnson.
Tyler
yeah,
Johnson.
Yeah. My bad. he's going to be a guy that's just on teams for the next 8 years or so. If I had to predict, he almost had 100 catches this year in Maryland, almost 1,200 yards, 9 tutties. He stepped his game up so much this year in the Maryland offense. The year before, it started happening the year before. He almost had 800 yards, 50 catches, 6 touchdowns. This year, he took every step that you wanted. His in and out of routes, his breaks, his stop and go. He's the way you compare it in the Steph Diggs, the way he runs his routes. His route tree can get there in a couple of years when it's more developed. And right now, it's still really clean. There's a couple guys in this draft class that kind of just run 3 or 4 routes. They run their routes, and it is what it is. Trey Harris is one of those guys. We'll get to him at some point.
The Ole Miss boys, yeah.
And it could be the Ole Miss thing. We'll get to the Ole Miss. But what Tay Felton can bring to a team, dude, he's such a leader, and he's a dog in the locker room. I believe he was one of the 3 guys that represented Maryland in the Big Ten like press conferences, and a team only can send 3 guys to those meetings, and he was one of those guys for Maryland. He was a team captain. He's a dog in the locker room. He gets people going and behind him. I love his game, dude. His tape was top tier, and his combine solidified that for me, dude. Like, I loved his tape.
Yeah.
And then what he was able to go out and do the combine with quarterbacks he's never had.
He was making plays.
Yeah. And he was always in the right spot on throws. And
we were constantly picking him out, like anytime there was a good pass, receivers there. Like,
who was that? And it's Felton every single time. Yep.
Like, it felt coming into the year, a lot of people were higher on his running mate, Caden Prather.
I love too.
You know, he's the bigger.
He's right outside my top 20. I like Felton. I like him too.
He's my 30th.
Oh,
he was the last. Okay. He's my last ranked guy that I've watched. Caden Prather, I just couldn't get into. Like, it was just, it was always showing up that Tay Felton was the alpha there, and I think the upside's there. Like, I think he could be a wide receiver too, but I think he's going to be a top end wide receiver 3 for years.
Yeah, I agree. I think he could develop very nicely and be a really good NFL receiver too. I could definitely see that in the pathway for him if given the opportunity. The way he's able to stretch field and get separation, that's what you want out of your 2, dude, because the number 1's going to be eating all the coverage, and it's the 2's job to get open on single coverage. And Tay Felton's very, very reliable in getting open when he's single covered.
Yeah, I think round 4 is probably where we start to see him come off the board.
At the earliest, yeah, I agree.
I think teams that miss out on a receiver in rounds 1, 2, and 3, they're landing a solid guy in Tay Felton.
Yep.
All right, Jalen Lane and Torrey Horton. I have Lane at 14, 5'10", 191, smaller arms, 31 and a quarter, at 9, almost 10-inch hands. Ran a 4.3 40. 1.5-10 split, had a 40 in the vert, 132 inches in the broad, real good cone drill and shuttle. Like, the athleticism through the charts, like all the athletic measures, Jalen Lane was top 3 at the combine across the board. His
burst off the line is, it's flawless, dude.
It tested out of the waters, and you could see it all on tape, despite the fact that Virginia Tech had an abysmal passing offense. So the production's not necessarily there, but Virginia Tech, it was, unless you were Bashaw Tootin, you weren't really putting up a ton of numbers at VT. But his short area quickness is incredible, really great at creating separation, shifty, forces missed tackles. He was top 20 in the nation in yards after catch. He converted 16 of the 17 catches behind the line of scrimmage for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. He does special teams, kick return, punt return stuff. Like, I think Jalen Lane is a ceiling-wise an elite slot receiver.
I agree.
I think he's that capable.
He's going to be a slot guy.
It's just a matter of, it depends on, team and draft capital. If he falls, 6th round. Like maybe he's my Malik Washington this year, where I loved Malik Washington last year. He just happened to fall to the 6th round for whatever reasons, but he ended up in a nice position in Miami. But if he falls to a team where he's just drafted as a depth piece, he doesn't hit this ceiling I think he can hit. But I think from a skill set mind, he has the capabilities to be one of the better slot receivers in the NFL.
I think there's a chance, given the right opportunity, he could start day one from a team slot position. I think he's ready to be a number 3 in the NFL right like tomorrow. He's a very good slot number 3 receiver. His burst off the line, he's super shifty. He's what you want out of a slot receiver. And you've seen the production at Mid-Tennessee State when he was there. Like, they passed a little bit more. He almost had 1,000 yards his last year at Mid-Tennessee State, transferred to Virginia Tech, and then was just blessed with garbage quarterback play. How great for him.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah, you think you're moving up.
Yeah, you go to a better program and you just get shit quarterback play. It's insane.
Yeah.
And his production isn't based off his skill. He's going to be a really good NFL player at the end of the day. And it didn't show Virginia Tech because of their system. He's a little on the smaller side, but like he's going to be a slot guy.
Small catch radius.
And I don't need a huge catch radius for my slot guy. I'm not asking him to go up and get the ball higher. I want him quick in and out of routes across the middle. And that's what Jalen Lane can do, dude. He'll eat up in the middle. And like you said, he's a really good special teams guy. So is Horton, who we're about to get to. Both these guys bring special team ability. And that's what a team wants. If you are like versatile in what you can do, you're offensive and you can run special teams, there's just a better chance you make the 53-man roster at the end of the day.
Yeah, with Lane, I think there's room for him to improve as a route runner. I just thought he was okay with his routes. I thought, like, he wasn't really subtle, and, like, I could tell just how his body movement and dictation, like, what route he was running. Like, he wasn't really good at, like, deceiving his routes. So there was room for him to improve as a route runner, but if getting him underneath and in space, he's dangerous. Like I said, the metrics show on tape, despite the fact that the production not necessarily there at Virginia Tech.
It's also harder for like when you think of fast guys, you kind of think of, they run clean route. It's harder for a fast guy to run a clean route because of how fast he's moving. And Jalen Lane, right off the burst, he's moving quick as shit. So his routes are they're not as polished as some of the other guys. But you see it a lot with Luther Burton. He's moving so quick that his routes just look messy. But at the end of the day, they're still pretty clean. And I think Lane's going to be a really good slot right off the bat in the NFL.
Yeah. Torrey Horton, who had 13, Colorado State, 6'2.5", 196 pounds. Smaller arms, under 31 inches, 9-inch hands. He ran a 4.41, 4.41, 40, 153, 10, 37.5-inch vert.
He's a dog, dude. I
adore this guy.
Like his 2024, you can't really focus on because he only played 6 games. He was hurt. It really wasn't there. But the 2 years before that, dude, his 23 and 22 at Colorado State were bonkers, dude. Over 1,000 yards both seasons, 8 tutties both seasons, almost 100 catches in 2023. He was Colorado State's offense those 2 years. And the 6 games he played this year, he almost had 400 yards. So, like, it's still pretty good production for the 6 games. The touchdowns are a little less. He only had 1 in the 6 games. But I'm not really worried about that. I think Horton brings a lot to an offense. And like I said, he's a special teams god, dude. He averaged like
kick return, punt return experience at 6'2", almost 6'3", and 200 pounds.
But he almost averaged like 17 yards like punt return, which is an outland. Yeah. If you almost getting 20 yards of punt return, you bring so much to a special teams, dude.
Yeah, he played all over. Colorado was playing him the slot. He played that big slot role. He also played the outside boundary. Like I think NFL teams are going to love that versatility, that they can plug him anywhere in the lineup. Real consistent pacing in his routes. He's quick, flexible cuts, really creates separation for someone his size. Really like clean route runner for someone that big. Like I thought his routes were really good. And like you said, the production in 2022 and 2023, 1,100 yards both seasons, 8 touchdowns both years. Did miss time, had season-ending knee injury, but he was able to compete in the combine, so wasn't an ACL or anything. We don't know what it was, but he also fought a groin injury this past year, so soft tissue injuries, you do got to worry about them, so there's that. And I wish he was more physical for how big he was. Like, contested catch situations, if he went up for the ball and got hit, he wasn't bringing it down. He just couldn't hang on to it. And he didn't always play through contact. So I want him to be more physical, especially for how big he is. If he can add that next level depth where he can be a physical receiver on top of like his route running abilities, he's going to be a superstar.
Yeah.
But we'll see if he can put that together. We'll see if his body holds up with the 2 injuries as well. But like I like him first, second level on the field. I don't necessarily think he's a deep threat like he was at Colorado State. I just think his top end speed doesn't translate to the NFL. But first level, second level, the defense, I think he can rip you apart. And if he can figure out the physicality part of it, you're looking at a guy who could be like a low end wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I think he could develop nicely into, I'm not going to say a wide receiver 1, but I put him in the same boat with Felton.
I think that would be a ceiling.
Yeah. I think he could be a really good
if he
wide receiver
the physical part.
Yeah, he needs to start being a little bit more physical, add like 5-10 pounds to the frame. He's got the frame where he could put the weight on and still be pretty good. But yeah, I think his game's going to translate decently enough to the NFL. I'm not going to say he's going to go early or not, but his 2023 and 2022 looked great for Colorado State. And then the knee injury this year, so a little bit of a step back, but he's also a guy not getting much talk about, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, like it was unusual that I was expecting him to come out last year. Like I scouted him, and then he ended up going back to school, which I was surprised. And at the same time, I was like, okay, like maybe he goes back because the top end of this receiving class is pretty stacked, and maybe he doesn't fit athletically with an A.D. Mitchell or Xavier Worthy, those kind of guys. And maybe he's like, I'll play for next year, become a number 1, number 2 drafted wide receiver. And then unfortunately he got hurt. So it kind of knocked him down to maybe a little bit lower than he would have been drafted last season.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I think he'd be a little bit higher drafted last season, but again, the way the people are going to view this receiving class from 8 down it's going to be question marks. There are probably teams where like an NFL team that has Horton top 10
in their top 10.
And there's a chance that he goes way higher just based off it's that one team that likes him and they think he can develop nicely. So there's a lot of opportunity for these guys to really shine as like 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round guys and just take the opportunity and run because the draft class is all over the place. It's a weird year.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about our small body boys. Tez Johnson and Isaiah Bond.
Tezzy boy.
I have Isaiah Bond at 15. You had Tez Johnson
at, hold on, let me get my list. 15.
Okay. And then Isaiah Bond, you had 23.
Yes.
And I have Tez Johnson 22.
So we swapped them.
Similar framed players, a little bit smaller. Bond has more mass than Tez Johnson does.
I think most things have more mass than Tez Johnson does, brother.
Yeah, Tez Johnson, 5'9", 154. Yeah. He's
tiny.
Small. Yeah. Historically,
he is
small.
He is a 0 percentile for weight, 100%. I'll be the first one to admit
that's
that. I get it.
That's what worries me. He's really twitchy, really good route runner, really good short. He's got the Tank Dell effect. He's really good in that short stuff, but like for someone like he looks fast on tape, but then he ran a 4.51. So like I didn't see him as a field stretcher anyways at Oregon. I thought he was more, middle.
I think it's like
middle
I think
field
it's
kind
an
of
Oregon thing, dude.
Work the underneath.
Like him,
maybe.
Bucky, the running back this year who I'm blanking on his name, and I feel Jordan James. They look fast playing. Like all 3 of those guys look really fast game speed, and they all just underperformed on their 40. But I cannot kick his tape, dude. I can't kick it.
But for a guy who's 154, like you need a calling card, and it has to be like Tank Dell was small, but he ran like a 4.3.
Yeah, I get that.
This guy's running an average NFL receiver
but he
time,
still
4.5. Like
separates like Tank, dude. Like his in and outs, he will put people backpedaling, looking like idiots, dude. He runs.
Yeah, he had a great Senior Bowl, great combine in terms of the testing, like on-field stuff. Yeah. Really quick route runner, slot receiver.
100% a slot receiver. He's not going to play any type outside.
Really good in the short area. Like, but I don't know. The weight really worries me at 154 pounds.
I get it.
I get it. I couldn't propel him up.
I think
he's a good football player. I just don't think he projects to the NFL.
I get that. I'm pushing my chips in on it. I'm not going to kick it because of his size. I get it. Just looking at him on tape, he's clean. He knows how to separate. He does what you want out of a receiver. And for a guy that's 160 pounds, he blocks better than 40% of this class. He's scrappy, dude.
He does put forth the effort in as a run blocker. I did notice that
I
as
don't
well.
expect that out of him, but his 2023 with Bo Nix was amazing. 86 catches, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. And you kind of expected it to fall down with Dillon Gabriel, new quarterback, and Evan Stewart coming into Oregon, probably going to take snaps. And Stewart looked nothing compared to Tez. Tez still looked like the alpha. Still had 10 touchdowns with Dillon Gabriel. Almost 900
I'm glad
yards.
Evan Stewart ended up going back to
he
school.
Needed it, dude.
I was worried he was going to come out. Like, he looks the part.
Yeah.
Unlike Tez Johnson. Yeah. But the production for Evan Stewart doesn't match Tez Johnson.
I agree.
Tez Johnson, incredibly productive. It is the size that's really why I couldn't get him up any higher. If he weighed 170, I'd be all in. I wouldn't be as worried. But 154, it scares me that it just doesn't get going for him. Like, if he gets bodied too much on the line, how's his body hold up if he's getting hit? So, like, I would just rather take the shot on the guys I have ahead of him. But, like, I understand putting the chips in on Tez Johnson. Like, if he goes as a top 15 receiver, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, not at all. I would be completely happy with that, to be honest. I would love if a team would put their chips in on Tez. I would be cool with Denver getting him a little bit later, just to reconnect him with Bo. He's essentially like a Knicks child. The Knicks family didn't legally adopt him, but they let him live at their house. They fed him. They raised him because he's had a rough life. And Bo Nix really brought that to, like, him and Bo really took Oregon by storm last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And to get that reconnection would be dope. I love Tez. I'm not going to kick it off his size, but if he does fail, it's going to be off his size, and I do get why you don't have him higher.
Yeah. All right, so my 11 and 12 being Jalen Royals and Trey Harris. You have both them in your top 10. Now, I have two guys in your 20 through 15 in my top 10, and they're my 9 and 10. It would be Xavier Restrepo.
Did we do Isaiah Bond?
Oh, no. I thought we started with him.
No, we skipped your fast boy.
Isaiah Bond, 5'10 and a half, 180 pounds. Said he was going to break the combine record for the 40, ran a 4.39, which is a great time. But you can't be putting out there that you're going to run a 4.2, whatever Xavier Worthy ran. Really good burst and acceleration. He has the potential to be a elite level deep threat at the next level at the NFL. Really explosive. He averaged nearly 15 yards per target. I thought he was a surprisingly clean route runner, which blew my mind. Like, I think he's not as nuanced, but, like, I was just expecting him to be like a one route guy, but he can run the routes. It's just a matter of polishing it up. He's a really fluid, easy mover, dangerous in space, shifty with the ball in his hands. He averaged 8 yards after catch, which was one of the best in the nation. And like, his ability, like Savion Williams, to transition from receiver to runner is one of the best in the class. And obviously, contested catches, not his thing. Physicality, not his thing. He's tough. He'll fight back. He'll try to make the catch through traffic, but you knock him off base, he's not really getting back into things. And then the production profile is not there. That's my fear with Isaiah Bond. Is the fact he's never had over 700 yards in a season, never had more than 7 touchdowns in a year. Really underwhelming at big name programs, Texas and Georgia.
Georgia or Bama?
Bama.
Yeah,
Bama. I was thinking Adonai Mitchell was Georgia to Texas. Isaiah Bond, Alabama and Alabama and Texas. So the production profile not there, really underwhelming at the big name schools, but I liked what I saw on tape when he was able to get the ball in his hands or get a good pass from Quinn Ewers. Like, I thought he was real dangerous. I think at the next level, you get him with a good quarterback who could hit him in stride. I think you got a guy who could transition, because he is smaller, 180. I think he could transition into a Devonta Smith or Jordan Addison. I think that ceiling is there. It's just a matter of polishing his routes. And, just untapping that potential that he has.
Yeah, I get the appeal, and like teams were like, "Oh, you have to give Bond the pass because he's going to bring speed to a team that no other receiver can." He didn't do that.
I hate the Xavier Worthy stuff. People are just like, "Oh, he's Xavier Worthy."
No,
but why? Because he's fast and went to Texas. Their games aren't similar.
His
at all.
route tree is way cleaner than Worthy's was. Worthy couldn't fucking run a route out of a paper bag if you wanted to.
But I think Worthy's a better prospect, though.
I agree, because Worthy brought the high-end elite speed, where he brings elite speed, but it's not the same as Worthy's speed. Worthy is able to stretch the field.
Yeah.
To where I don't think Bond can.
Worthy...
And
I don't think Bond's like an underneath guy. I don't think you're going to manufacture touches to Bond like you do Xavier Worthy, but I think Bond is a more natural wide receiver and can be utilized at all three levels of the defense. Whereas Worthy, I don't think he's working the middle of the field. You're either doing underneath stuff or you're hitting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm so worried about his productivity at these big schools. Like I liked his Bama tape 2023 more than his Texas tape.
I get it.
But like, he has 99 catches in 3 seasons, like total.
Mm-hmm.
He's only had 1 game over 100 yards in his career. Like, you're a deep threat speed option. How are you not getting loose twice a game? Like, that's only 2 50-yard touchdowns. And for a guy that has elite speed and, like, I'm going to break the 40 record, you should be running past defenses and getting 40, 50, 60-yard touchdowns. For you to not have 100 yards only once in 3 seasons at 2 big programs, I'm really worried about his productivity. And once a corner gets hands on him, he's done. He's done for the whole play. He's out that whole play. He might as well just sit out to the side. He can't get physical. He can't play press. I just don't think it's going to translate to the NFL. I see him the same way you kind of see Tez Johnson.
Tez Johnson.
I do see the appeal behind Bond, and I think it's going to take a whole lot of a good NFL team and a great system to get him to where that's going to be.
Yeah. I went in really low, and maybe that's why I ended up liking him more. Like, I had 0 expectations for Isaiah Bond, and I ended up like, I don't hate him. I actually kind of like him.
I watched Bond pretty early, months ago, and I'm like, oh, Bond's the hyped receiver, and then Matthew Golden kind of came out, and he's way better, and then...
Well, now, months ago, I told you, I was like, I think I'd rather Golden than Bond, and at that time, it was kind of a stretch.
It was unheard of.
We'll get to Matthew Golden.
We'll definitely get there, and like you said that, and I'm like, I get it. Bond's Golden's but the more you just watch it, Golden's just a legitimate receiver compared to Bond, and Bond's just like, Bond was the number 1 receiver this year. He should have been, and he didn't take over. Gold came in, and it is what it is. We're not turning back now at this point.
Yep.
Bond, your backseat, brother.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Trey Harris, I have at 12. Jalen Royals, I have at 11. You have both those guys in your top 10. And then you have Kyle Williams and Xavier Restrepo outside your top 10. They're both in mine. Where do you have Restrepo and Williams?
Restrepo I have 11, and Kyle Williams I have 14.
Okay, I have Kyle Williams at 10, Restrepo at 9.
Okay. I have Jalen Orioles at 10, and Trey Harris higher than that.
Okay, let's start with Kyle Williams because you have him a little lower at 14. 5'11", 190, a little above 30-inch arms, 8 3/4-inch hands. He ran a 4.4, 155 in the 10, 36.5-inch vert, 119-inch broad. I couldn't quit this guy's tape.
His tape is natural, dude. Like, he is a legitimate natural receiver. Like, he catches with his hands, like, the way he runs routes. He's got great hands.
Like you brought up Jalen Lane off the jump. I think Kyle Williams might have the best get off in the class. Like, initial footwork, just right off the jump. Like, I think his initial burst and quick feet, like, has defenders in a spiral sometimes. Like, he also ranked towards the top of the nation in forced missed tackles, great ball tracking ability, vertical threat. He also gets manufactured touches. Like, Washington State was utilizing this guy everywhere. He had a little time with Cam Ward. Cam Ward really liked him, and then he continued to get better this past year with whoever replaced Cam Ward. I don't know his name off the top of my head. But he creates separation. He finds that soft spot in zone, really good in contested catch situations. I just wish he would be a little more physical. He does struggle against press and physical corners. He's a little smaller catch radius, and he kind of leads defenders in when he's running across the middle because he doesn't outreach his hands, so he just kind of, tries to catch. He's not a full-on hands catcher, but he does catch with his hands, but like he lets it get too close to his body. And the smaller hands, he did have some, focus drops as well. But I would love Tennessee to get this guy in the 4th round, get him back with Cam Ward. Like, I think Kyle Williams has it. Like, I think he could be an elite level number 2 receiver.
Yeah, he's super good with his feet. He's really good at acceleration out of his route, like you said. He's really good at tracking the ball. I noticed that he's looking like an outfielder out there on these deep passes, dude. It doesn't even matter if the ball's 10 yards to the left. He's going to adjust, and he's going to be under the ball whenever it comes down. And that's what he's so natural, dude. Like the way he runs, the way he takes these strides, his body is always in the right position to come up with the ball at the end of the throw. So like he knows he can high point the ball. He has really good hands at that point too. Like I like Kyle Williams. He's a very natural receiver compared to like a lot of these guys. Like Williams from TCU, nothing comes natural to that guy. To where everything comes natural to Kyle Williams, and he looks like an alpha receiver. I don't know if he's going to be a number 1, but I think like him, Felton, I have all these guys in the same number. Like they could be really good number 2 receivers in the NFL.
Yep.
And yeah, I like Kyle Williams a lot. I know there's a lot of draft analysts that are really gaining steam and moving him up boards. So I'm happy to hear that.
I love to hear that because he's a guy I hadn't heard much about in the process, and just started watching him. I'm just like, man,
he's in
this guy's really good. And you and I have never talked about him, so I'm just like, man, is Nick on the Kyle Williams? Like, I don't want to force your hand into like watching him and be like, yo, Kyle Williams, you got to watch this guy. He's really good. And then I give you my hand, and you're like, okay, TJ really likes this guy. Like I did with Tyler Shuck. Like I couldn't quit Tyler Shuck. I had to talk about him. But I'm really glad, because I was worried, like, man, Nick's not going to have Kyle Williams like in his top 15, top 20, and I'm just going to be like gushing over this guy like I was Jarquez Hunter.
Nah, you're good. I like Kyle Williams a lot.
I'm glad you got Kyle Williams in there. As I think he's a special player.
Everything he does at the receiver position looks easy. It comes back to it being natural to him. So it just looks so smooth and elegant to him. The way he runs with the ball in his hands, the way he runs routes. He's in Mel's top 10. I'll tell you that. He's Mel's 10. That's a little higher than I have him, and I'm not that high on him, but I think he could be a really good number 2 at the end of the day.
Mike Renner, who used to be the PFF head guy, draft guy, I think he's now at CBS. I think he had Kyle Williams in his top 50.
Oh yeah,
and I think he was like his receiver 6.
I think he's gonna be a 3rd round pick. I think he ends up going in the 3rd. I think he's gonna go a little bit earlier, just based off of how smooth he runs, how clean he is with the ball. He's just a really trusted receiver at the end of the day. Him to Tennessee would be a great fit, dude. I love that a
lot. Yeah. You had Jalen Royals at 10?
I do have Jalen Royals at 10.
Okay, I have him at 11. Let's talk Jalen Royals, Utah State, 6 foot, 205, just under 30, or a little above 30-inch arms, 9.5-inch hands. He ran a 4.42, 1.49 in the 10-yard split. I also love Jalen Royals. I have him in the same bucket as Kyle Williams. I was going back and forth on these guys all day because, like, I think they're fun football players. Like, I used another guy. I just wanted to watch his tape. Like, I watched more of his games and Kyle Williams' games than I did the majority of the guys in here. Top 30 in the nation in yards after catch. Top 40 in forced missed tackles. In 2023, he led college football with 7 touchdowns over 50 yards. Precision, smooth runner. He challenges defenders in the short area. He creates separation. He's really sudden mover. The testing shows on tape. He's a threat to all levels of the defense. Incredible body control. Jalen Royals was fun. He's like a poor man's Malik Neighbors to me.
He's built a lot. He's built like Jamar Chase, dude. He is compact. He's like 6 foot, a little over 200 pounds. He's built like a running back a little bit. And that's kind of how Chase is built when he runs with that kind of force. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about Royals. His 2023 was big. He had over 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, 7 of which over 50 yards, which is huge. That's crazy. Isaiah Bond wishes for that productivity, dude. And then this year, he played in 7 games, 834 yards, 6 touchdowns, 119 yards a game, dude. This dude was a beast this year.
I have written down his last 4 games before he suffered the injury. 10 for 112 and 1, 9 for 211 and 2, 10 for 155 and 1, 11 for 188 and 1. He was getting hot.
Yeah.
Like, he was going to put up numbers similar to that season before, but he ended up missing time with the injury. I don't have written down what injury it was. I think it was an ankle.
I believe it was an ankle injury, but I love it. I love Jalen Royals, dude. I think he's going to be a dog. He plays a lot like Terry McLaren. He's not going to be it was a foot. He's not more athletic or anything than like anybody else, but he plays with such an attitude and like I'm going to get this ball no matter what, and I'll put my body at like ends meet to get the ball. It doesn't matter. I'm going to fight for this ball. He's so physical, dude. I love Jalen Royals for a guy that's only 6 foot 200. The way he plays like 6'2". He plays huge, dude. I think he's going to translate pretty well in the NFL.
Yeah. Him between like these guys, like the guys I have, like Restrepo at 9, Kyle Williams at 10, the person I have at 8, Jalen Rose at 11, Trey Harris at 12.
I love that you have Restrepo over me, dude. I love that.
Yeah. I've just had these guys in the same bucket. They've just been moving around all day. Like I could have put Jalen Royals at 7 and I would have been fine with it. Like, that's how close I have these guys graded out. Only really had those 2 years of experience, and really was just 1.5 year, missing most of this past season. I did notice he was very hot and cold in terms of production. Like, he was big play reliant. Like, his game does kind of fluctuate, but that's the case with a lot of receivers at the next level. Like, it's a lot of peaks and valleys, but yeah, I think Jalen Royals is a superstar, potentially, if all goes right for him. I think he could be, he's got a little Amon-Ra in him in terms of just like how physical he is for his size. But like, I don't necessarily think he's a slot receiver. I don't think he's just relegated there. I think he could play outside.
Yeah, I think he plays physical enough to be outside. Like, Chase plays all over the field, and Chase is very similar built to him. I think Royals can play either outside or in. He can stretch fields. He can play the short. I think he's going to bring a lot to an offense, dude. I really, really like Jalen Royals.
Yeah. All right. Xavier Restrepo, Miami. Woo! I had him at 9. Boy. You have him at 11. Yeah. 11. Okay.
So you had him at 7 if you dropped him 2 spots?
I did have him at 7 before today.
I love that. Hell yeah, dude.
5'10", mystery weight. I didn't write his weight down.
I don't have pages in front of me.
Okay.
I'll get it for you though. Don't worry.
Yeah, 5'10", under 30-inch arms, 9 1/8 inch hands, but I don't care that he ran a 4.73 and a 4.83 at his pro day for his 40. I mean, it did a little bit because I did drop him 2 spots because of that, but that's just because of how close I have these guys. Yeah. He's not fast. He doesn't have long speed. Doesn't have burst. He's smaller, small catch radius. He is a slot receiver at the next level. Even though at Miami he played outside and inside, but he's probably a slot receiver at the NFL. But this dude's tape is so good.
Yeah, he is.
He is such a nuanced route runner. He understands tempo and pacing. He's got quick feet, sharp outs, strong, reliable hands. Like, he consistently was bringing in passes in tight coverage, fought through traffic. He plays way stronger than his build. He fights off defenders. He's really smart after the catch because like he uses his IQ and his shiftiness to make up for the fact that he's not fast. He's got really good vision and power after the catch. He finds the holes in defense. He takes advantage of it. He's tough to bring down. Like, he plays like a running back. And I couldn't peg him too much for the low 40 because I just think he's just a really good football player. And if he falls because of this 40 into like day 3 and you're looking at rounds 5 at this guy, a team like with Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco is going to nab him up, or Sean McVay is going to snatch this guy up and pair him with Puka and Devontae Williams, and he's going to be a superstar there. Or he falls into the lap of Kevin O'Connell and he can give Minnesota a true number 3 receiver with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. Like, if he falls into one of these really well-coached teams, they're going to take advantage of him and they're going to play to his strength. Like, I think Xavier Restrepo, it is legit. I don't care about the speed stuff. Like, I think he is one of the better receivers in this class. I'd still take him in the second round. I would.
I agree. He's probably the most reliable receiver in this class, just based off of his hands. He's not going to drop the ball. It doesn't matter where the pass is or what game it is. It doesn't matter if it's a pointless game or the fucking Super Bowl. Restrepo is going to be the most reliable guy on that field. He knows exactly where the quarterback needs him to be at the end of the day. He'll rip apart a zone defense and make them look insane. He's a legitimate New England receiver. If you put this guy on,
I was gonna say Mike Vrabel is going to love this guy.
If you put this guy on a field with Tom Brady 10 years ago, they would easily been 100 catches, 1,000. He's Wes Welker.
Low key, kind of hope he falls to round 3. New England snatches it up with Drake May. I think that's a great situation for Drake May and Restrepo.
His combine build was 5'10", 209. So he's thick.
209.
He is thick. He is built like a running back, like you said. And that's like if your running back is 6 foot, 215, that's the perfect weight. And Restrepo's 5'10", 209. So he's really close. He's compact. He's dense. And like you said, dude, like he knows how to rip a zone defense apart from the slot position and the outside. He's going to be a slot guy in the NFL. It is what it is. But like the pro day with Cam Ward, I watched a good amount of it because I wanted to see both guys because I like him and Arroyo. I like a lot of the Miami guys. I'm a big fan of all 4 of them, being Martinez, Arroyo, Restrepo, and Cam Ward. There's a reason Cam Ward did not throw at the combine. He wanted to make sure that he had Restrepo on his combine side, and he got it at his pro day. Mm-hmm. Just because of how reliable Restrepo is, every single throw to him from Cam Ward looked magnificent. Like, there were routes that, like, Restrepo didn't even break yet. And the ball was thrown, and he would break and be instantly under the ball because Cam Ward knew exactly where Restrepo was going to be. Like you said, dude, if you give him the right system, Restrepo is going to shine, dude. He is so smart. He's a beautiful football player, dude.
Shoot, if he falls to the 4th and Tennessee doesn't have a 3rd, so if he falls to the 4th to Tennessee's pick, Cam Ward needs to be lobbying for him.
Yep.
But yeah, I hope either Restrepo or Kyle Williams kind of ends up back with Cam Ward in Tennessee. I think that would be great for Cam and for those guys, like in terms of reaching their ceiling as prospects. But,
I mean, Tennessee.
Yeah, Restrepo, I adore him. I think he's great.
I agree. He's very like Sterling Shepard, just like football IQ. He knows exactly where to be, slot receiver. He's not going to have 1,100, 1,200 yards in the NFL, but he's going to be good for 600 to 800 yards probably every single season, just based off of his IQ and where he needs to be. He's the first ever Hurricane receiver to have back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving yard seasons. And Miami has produced some of the greatest receivers in the history of football. And this guy's the first ever one to have...
Sonoris Moss.
Yeah. Santana Moss, Andre Johnson, Michael Irving. The list literally goes on and on. And Restrepo's the first ever guy to have back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving yard seasons from Miami. Yeah. He's amazing, dude. I love Restrepo. I love that you have him higher than I do. Love it.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm in on Restrepo.
I get it.
I hated that I had to drop him down too, but it was just so close in the bucket that like, okay, I'm gonna take advantage of the guys.
I don't know what happened at that 40. I'm telling you right now, he's not a 4.7.
I don't know why they let him.
He plays fast.
I don't know why they let him run.
He's like a 4.5 guy. I don't know why. At worst, he's 4.5.
Yeah. Fake an ankle injury. I don't know what was going on there. All right, let's talk Trey Harris. I got him at 12.
I have him at 7.
Oh man, I was hoping you were gonna say like top 5. Just be wild with Trey Harris because this guy.
The highest I had him was 6, and I did drop him to 7 today.
This guy, I didn't know where I was gonna land with him. My first watch of him, I had him down with Alec Ayumanor.
Whoa!
And then he was another guy. I went back to it. I watched more games, and I'm like, okay, I at least see it better with him than I did Ayumanor. Like I see it. He projects well. He's productive. 3 straight years of great productivity at Ole Miss. He's got strong hands. He's really good in contested situations. He's got good contact balance. Ole Miss was moving him all over. I saw he was in motion a lot. He's a mismatch due to his athletic profile. Really quick cuts, pacing with his routes, creating separation. And then, power, physical, more than speed, quickness in terms of yards after catch. He's going to beat you with his power. and his physicality more than he is his speed quickness, because the speed's not there. He's got slow feet, doesn't have great bursts, which makes sense based off his testing. Like he ran a 4.5 40 and a 1.56 10-yard split. Limited route tree. He really much ran 3 routes, and it was just a hook, 10 yards up, hook back, or a vert.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do anything in the middle of the field usually. So it was all underneath stuff, or first down, go to the marker, get the ball. I also thought he could be a little more physical. Like, I thought he'd struggled with press corners, and if he got knocked off base similar to Isaiah Bond, it kind of took him out of the play. But his size and power to his frame, like I see the world where he translates to potentially an alpha wide receiver. I think he's more a wide receiver 2 at the next level, but I at least see it with him more than I did Ayumanor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I see it there for Trey Harris, dude. Like, he's 6'2", 205. He's a big, tall receiver. The strides he takes, like, he's not the quickest, but he's still able to run past defenders just based off the strides that he's taking. So, like, he moves way faster than he is for a guy that's 6'2". He's got the perfect NFL-sized body combined with decent enough speed to get past guys that I think he's going to be a pretty dangerous NFL receiver. I get the Ole Miss stuff. It's a system thing in Ole Miss. They're not going to ask him to go out there and run 30 different routes because that's not what they do. And that's not what Jackson Dart did. It's not what he needed to do. I really think, like, his body, I seen him a little bit more physical than you did. I'm not going to try to compare him to A.J. Brown, but I see it. I think he plays a lot like A.J. Brown, where he's gonna body you and make you look silly, dude.
Ole Miss has a type.
100%. Yep.
Big DK, AJ Brown, Trey Harris, like, they fits the bill of what Ole Miss likes to bring. Congratulations, Nick. You have a second quarterback.
Oh, I didn't. My phone's on Do Not Disturb, so you're about to break news to me.
Russell Wilson is finalizing a deal with the New York Giants.
Whoa.
So Russ and Jameis.
Whoa.
This might put you out of the running of. I don't know if you guys draft a quarterback now at 3.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're sitting pretty now with Russ and Winston, baby boy. All right. I'm cool with that. I mean, I'd still rather Winston, but I'm cool with Russ too.
There'll be a competition for sure. They're not going to give the.
We're getting really off topic, but I love the thing where it's like Travis Hunter to the Giants, because he's either going to be down there for Winston's deep bombs or he's going to be tackling the guy that picks the ball off. I found that to be absolutely hilarious.
That had me dying. Have to draft.
But
no, Trey Harris.
I love it.
I do see the world where he is an alpha wide receiver. It's just. I'm going to sound hypocritical because I don't want to, like, the route tree bothers me, but, like, Brian Thomas Jr. didn't have much of a route tree, and I was enamored with that guy. But the speed profile's not there with Trey Harris. Brian Thomas Jr., a freak athlete in terms of speed to body size, whereas Trey Harris, like I said, is more power, physicality. But the slow feet, the lack of bursts, I ended up liking him more than I thought I did. Like, I was just like, man, this guy not cracking my top 15. Like, I'm going to be an outlier on him and Ayumanor. And that's why I made sure to go back and watch these guys 2 or 3 days ago. And the more I dove into Trey Harris, the more I'm like, okay, like this guy, I see the world where he is a top 10 prospect. I just missed my top 10 with 12, but
yeah, I definitely see why people would have Harris lower than where I have him, and even higher. Like, I have him at 7. I've seen people that had him 6 and 5, not much higher than 5. But I really think Harris is going to be a better pro than he was college receiver, and that's no slight. He had 3 seasons,
incredibly productive.
He had
over 1,000 yards.
No, 3 seasons over 900 yards, a season over 1,000. I think he went 900, 1,000, which is still really productive at college. Close to 1,000 yards, 3 straight seasons. There's a reason he's out there so much. He's physical, he's durable, and he's got a size that'll translate. So what he was able to do he only played in 8 games this year. He had 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
which is this year crazy.
He did take that up step, and that's also why I kind of moved him up a little bit more. Like, he took the next level to continue to grow as a prospect.
The seasons before, he played in all 12 and finished with the 900, but this year he played in 8 and he had over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. So it's almost a touchdown a game. That's 120 yards a game, I believe, if my math adds up around there.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
I love Trey Harris, dude. He was one of the guys that I was enamored with when I was watching his tape.
Yeah, he's a guy, like, it wouldn't surprise me if he goes round 2, but it also wouldn't surprise me if he falls to round 4, sort of like Troy Franklin.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to fall to 4, but I think his range is 2 to 3. I think he's going to be a third-round pick.
Yeah.
He might get into the back of the second, but I think he ends up going in the third.
Yeah.
I dig him, though, dude.
Okay. Before we dive into the rest of our top 10, let's give a shout-out to our friends over at W Energy. W, they pride themselves on that full ingredient disclosure, clean ingredients. It's jitterless coffee. They use a coffee bean extract. I'm drinking some right now. I got the Dub Sludge, the apple with the mystery sauce. It's delicious. It's clean energy, but if you're not the caffeine type, hey, they have hydration drinks. You can go out there, get them, give a little boost to your water, but it's clean, it's good, it's a good product. The taste is there. It's not just something I'm pandering here to the podcast. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't be supporting it. So shoot over to W Energy. It's DUBBY. They have a mobile app. You can get it from your app store or their website, www.w.gg. Use the code DRAFTEDUP for a nice 10% discount. You'll be supporting our friends at W. You'll be supporting the podcast. Eat that dub with W Energy. Be better. I always said get that dub. Jameis Winston, shout out.
Eat that dub.
Eat the dub.
Yeah, man. Winston and Russ, dude. That's going to be an interesting thing. We'll get to that on some type of future podcast for sure.
Yeah. All right. Top 10. We'll go 10 through 5. Kyle Williams was my 10. Washington State receiver. We already talked about him. Xavier Restrepo, my 9. Miami receiver. We discussed him as well. At 8, I have Jack Bech from Texas Christian, TCU. 7, I have Jalen Knoll from Iowa State. And at 6, I have Luther Burden III from Missouri.
All right. My 10 was Jalen Royals, who we did talk about, Utah State. My 9 is Jack Bech, TCU. 9, Jaden Higgins, Iowa State. 7, Trey Harris, Ole Miss.
8, Jaden Higgins.
Oh, that's good. Oh, yeah. 8.
You said 9.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep, sure. I don't know numbers. 8, Jaden Higgins, Iowa State. 7, Trey Harris, Ole Miss. 6, Jalen Knoll, Iowa State. So I have the 2 Iowa State guys there.
So Luther Burden, obviously in your top 5.
He's my 5.
Unless there's like a mystery.
He's my 5.
Jaden Higgins is my 5.
Okay. Yeah, I get it.
So we'll do them last. Let's start with Jack Bech.
Dog, dude.
You have him at 9. I have him at 8.
Great story too.
Yeah, 6 foot, 1.5 inches, 214, big body, thick boy, 31.5 inch arms, 9-inch hands. He had a 34.5 inch vert, 125 broad, 6'8 cone, 4.2 shuttle. Didn't run a 40, which is probably smart because I think his 40 would have been in the 4.6 range, 4.7.
I'm cool with that,
and then I would be looking at him like I did Restrepo, where I'd have to drop him down a peg. But effective and precise route runner, really quick feet, sharp cuts. He creates separation through technique instead of athleticism, reliable hands, above average in contested situations. Tough. He's so competitive. He fights for the extra yard. He's a real feisty run blocker. Doesn't have the best technique, but he's throwing down out there.
He will block his ass off, dude, for sure.
He's gonna, yeah. And the story, it's unfortunate of how like his name got bigger through the draft process because of his brother Tiger was killed in that terrorist attack in New Orleans. So it kind of put Jack Bech's name higher up in the draft profiles, but it should have been there before.
For sure.
His game's really well. I don't have a lot of weaknesses for him. He's not overly athletic. He's an average athlete. Doesn't have a lot of top end speed, but that's not his game. His hands are smaller, but he's still strong hands. Like, he doesn't have a ton of drops, but he's just a really good football player. Yeah. Like, his ceiling and floor is going to be close. Like, I think I don't think he's a number 1, but I don't think he's worse than a number 3.
I don't think he's going to be a 1, but he could be a really reliable 2. He's just a really good football player at the end of the day. Like you said, like, he does everything well. He doesn't do anything elite. Like, I did find that his routes would get a little bit bumped off if it was a little bit pressed and a corner was able to get his hands on him. He got a little off balance. He does have below average stop and go. It is what it is, but he's huge. He's either going to be in college. They gave him the option. They're like, do you want to add 15 pounds and be a really small tight end, or do you want to be a really big receiver?
He was a tight end too. He converted to receiver,
and so he finally made that jump. And like, he's only had 1 year of productivity. This year he had 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. The 3 seasons before that, he had 4 touchdowns total. So like he
was in LSU.
He was in LSU for 2 years, and then
and
TCU for the last 2.
One of those seasons at LSU, he outproduced Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. But
I would assume it was his freshman year when he had almost 500 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Neighbors and Thomas were on that team, and he out yardaged them and whatnot. But
he wants it,
and he's not.
He wants it more than the next man up, and that's what it comes down to for Jack Bech. Like, he's going to be on teams just based off of how much he wants it and his will to do whatever you need for the team. He will put the team's need first at the end of the day. He doesn't care about his stats. He's a really San Fran type of receiver. I don't know if they're going to draft him because they have Ricky Pearsall and they're kind of very similar here and there in what they do. But I really like his game. I think it's going to translate pretty well. It's kind of fun having 2 TCU receivers to talk about in the draft process. That's very rare, dude. But yeah, dude, he's got really good size. He plays really good body control. His ball skills are really good, and he's able to pin defenders back too. Dude, he's not going to blow the top off a defense, but the way he moves keeps guys guessing because they don't have to worry about his elite speed, but the way he runs routes are so clean that he's able to get separation. And he's what? 6'1", 6'2"?
6'1" and
6'1", 215, dude. Like, he's a big receiver, dude. And I think he's going to be really well. Like I said, he doesn't have too many weaknesses, but he doesn't have over-the-top strengths. His floor and ceiling are really close. He's going to be really good NFL receiver. I don't think he's going to be a great NFL receiver, but he's going to be reliable as hell, dude. I can tell you that much.
Mm-hmm. Another guy I think Mike Vrabel would also love. Get him with Drake May. Bech and Restrepo just scream the Patriot way, the way they play football.
I just want some of these receivers to go to New England, dude. Like, get Drake May some help, dude. And nothing against Jalen Polk and who else did they draft last year who I really liked?
Javon Baker.
Big.
They signed Matt Collins.
Big Nick guy. And yeah.
Javon Baker was in my top 10 last year. I'm not giving up that hope.
Hell yeah, dude. Especially with Drake May, dude. Drop them dimes, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, they gotta get Drake May help
one of these guys
for sure.
in there. Yeah. Yeah. Bech. Yeah. Real safe. As safe as you can get as a prospect, I think he provides a good floor as a prospect.
You just know what he is at the end of the day, and that's why he's higher up on the list because you don't have to worry about it. Like at the end of the day, he's going to be productive for a team, and it's not going to be good, great productivity, but he's going to be really good, and he's going to help out an NFL team at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right, Jalen Knoll, Iowa State. I have him at 7. You had him at 6. Yeah. Combine Slayer, 5'10.5", small arms, 29.5 inches, small hands, 8 3/4. Ran a 4.39, 1.51 10-yard split, 41.5-inch vert, 134-inch broad, had a 6.82 cone drill, 4.17 shuttle. Oh, and 23 bench reps. Jalen Knoll, like, I love the Iowa State kids, both of them. Jaden Higgins is in my top 5.
They're the perfect combo.
But Jalen Knoll,
they're the perfect combo.
They complemented each other. I wish there was a way these two end up on the same team in the NFL.
I mean,
I just don't think I think they're both.
Higgins is going to be a second round pick, and there's a chance Knoll falls to the 3rd. I think he's going to be a 3rd round pick.
Yeah. Probably, he's smaller. Real good route runner, creates separation, really shifty, great footwork, sudden stop and go. They moved him all over. He played in the backfield. They had him in the slot. They had him outside. He was always in motion. Return specialist there. He'll go across the middle. He'll take a shot. He doesn't care. Tough as hell. Small catch radius, obviously, with the size. He has short arms, small hands. And then, physical corners, press coverage, did give him fits at times. He gets really knocked off his base if contacted early in the route process. But this is a tough as nails player with incredible speed. Like he tested way better than I thought his tape would show. Like I thought he was just like a 4.4 guy, 4.45, but he ran under 4.4 and he blew the combine. The explosiveness stuff, like the 41-inch vert. He's a really good, just like Jack Besh and Xavier Restrepo, less so now. I just think he's a really safe prospect. I think you know what you're getting. A really good, reliable wide receiver in your wide receiver room who's going to outwork everybody else, and he's going to put the work on the field. He's going to out-tough everybody, and he's going to stick around just based off how he plays more than just athleticism, even though he's an incredible athlete.
Yeah, I have him over Higgins. I do like Higgins. I just think what Noel does to defenders is so valuable for a team. I love his quick, short burst, dude. Like, he instantly has people backpedaling off the jump, and then they're frazzled. They don't know what to do, and Noel's putting them in a body bag at the end of the day. Like, the routes are so clean. They're so crisp. Like, I get the Tank Dell and Tez Johnson thing. He runs route like Tank Dell. He's so low to the ground and so in and out of dips. Like, a player has no idea if he's going right, left, straight. You kind of have to guess when Noel's running his routes. And if you don't guess right, he's gone, dude. He's zoomed past you. The safety didn't even see it coming, and he just took the top off the defense. I think Noel should be a second-round pick at the end of the day, based off what he's talent, what he brings to a team. I think he falls based off his size and his catch radius. And what he really does bring to a team is just that dog mentality from the slot. He could kick it out to the outside for a little bit, but I think he's going to be a little bit more slot. But like you said, dude, he's not afraid to get into the teeth of a defense, run those middle of the routes, and eat up the middle of the field, which is super valuable to a team. If they're trying to move the chains on like third and short, Noel knows exactly where to be in the middle of the field, in holes in like the linebackers and the safeties coming in. If you don't play it right and adjust for him and his speed, he's gone, dude. He's took it to the house.
Get ready for the Philadelphia Eagles to draft this guy at 64 to upgrade over Jahan Dotson and just become a new weapon for that offense.
That would be insane. Yeah, I would love to see this guy in a high-powered offense where he's not looking at like, because like him and Higgins were obviously eating all the coverage. If he's a team's 3, you can't cover that guy. What are you going to do? Who are you going to cover, dude? Like, I love Noel. I think he's going to be way more valuable when he gets drafted. Way more valuable than where he gets drafted. I think he's going to be one of the better receivers in this class.
Yeah, he's really good. All right. Luther Burden and Jaden Higgins. You have Burden at 5. I have Higgins at 5. I have Burden at 6. You have Higgins at 7?
8. I have Harris at 7.
8. All right. Let's talk Jaden Higgins. We'll just go back-to-back Iowa State. 6'4", 214.
Big.
33-plus inch arms.
Huge.
9-plus inch hands. He ran a 4.47.
Freak hands, dude.
153 in the 10. Yeah, 39-inch vert, 128-inch broad. Elite size for a wide receiver. Big catch radius. I thought he was a really good route runner. Not a lot of 6'4" dudes utilize pace and efficiency and breaks and cuts like Jaden Higgins did. Really strong hands. He was a contested catch machine, low drop rate. He's a really good blocker as well. And I got a little stat here. Shout out Brett Coleman over on Twitter. But 29% of Jaden Higgins' targets were go routes last year. So 42 go routes were thrown at him. Only 16 were deemed catchable. He caught every single one of them, of the 16. Out of every receiver in the class, he had the third most incompletions because of bad throws from his quarterback. And even with that, he put up 87 for almost 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. This is why I would pass on Tetero and McMillan at the top of the draft and just draft Jaden Higgins in the second round, because I think they are similar players and I think their upsides are the same. I think Jaden Higgins can be a low-end wide receiver 1 at the next level.
I'm surprised Higgins isn't getting first-round talk. Like, on that,
I would take him. I would take him. I would trade back into the first for him if I was drafting later, mid to late second, and I wanted to get a big receiver. I'm calling Philly. I'm calling Kansas City. I'm calling those teams drafting in the 28 to 32 range, and I'm trying to get this guy. I think he'd be great in Washington. He'd be the perfect complement to Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin.
There's so many teams at the beginning of the second. Like the first 20 picks in the beginning of the second, I would say half of those teams could draft a receiver. There could be a huge run of receivers very early in the second round, depending on how the board falls. And like Higgins going first wouldn't shock me if some team wants to try to get ahead of that run. Like Higgins and Noel, I wouldn't bat an eye if a team took them at the back end of the first. I think Noel was that talented as well. I think both those guys are top 32 talents in this draft. They're super talented. But what Higgins brings size wise, like you brought up his bad pass ratio, it's because his wingspan's 6'7". His wingspan is an NBA wingspan, dude. He's a freak. He's like Tayshaun Prince out there. Yeah. And his catch radius is insane, dude.
Tayshaun Prince, what a callback.
Like a guy that's 6'4" and has these freak alien hands, they're so soft and they're so natural too, dude. Like he's such a hands catcher. I really like Higgins too. I have Harris a little bit above him just based off what I think Harris can be. But Higgins right now is better than Harris. I'll admit that. Yeah,
I love it though. Like we said in this class, there's a lot of slot receivers. There's not many just
big body outsides,
wide receivers, and there's Jaden Higgins and Teteroa McMillan. It's them too. They're the alphas, the two big alphas of this class in terms of
outside
size, speed combo, just true wide receiver one elite builds. It's those two.
I think Tet has the ability to run more in middle and out of the slot. I think he can bring a little bit of that. I don't think Higgins can. I think Higgins is a pure big body outside receiver, Mike Williams style. He's a guy that's going to strictly play outside and just body bag smaller defenders.
Yeah, but not creative in space, doesn't do a whole lot after the catch, doesn't really have the top speed. He reaches it really quick, like he reaches the 4.47. He reaches his top speed really quick into his breaks. But I just think this dude's an excellent football player. Like,
it's
a shame because like I would love to have him ranked higher, but like I really like the guys in the top 4.
Yeah, I get that for sure. Yeah, he's good. Obviously, the quickness in like short burst, it is what it is. But he's 6'4", dude. He's not gonna do the phone booth test. Like that's Jalen Noel's spot. If you put Noel in a phone booth, you're not gonna touch him. Higgins is bigger than the fucking phone booth, dude. He's huge. He can't even get into a phone booth. And like for that to bring to an NFL team, not many receivers are freaking 6'4", 215, dude.
This is actually the receiver I want New England to bring in for Drake May. At the top of the second, Jaden
Travis
Higgins.
Hunter count?
Well, yes, but will New England play him at receiver? That's who knows what they view him as.
I think they would. I think with Gilmore, I think he would be a receiver in New England, and the way he's able to track the ball, we'll get the fucking Hunter, dude.
Yeah. Luther Burden, the third, Missouri. I have him at 6, you have him at 5. 6 foot, 206, 31.25-inch arms, 8.5-inch hands. He ran a 4.41, 1.54 in the 10-yard split. You brought up Cordarrelle Patterson earlier, and Savion Williams is the way to disservice or to be what Cordarrelle Patterson was, because we did a disservice to Cordarrelle Patterson years ago when he first came in, ahead of his time. Luther Burden, to me, feels like Percy Harvin. And this is our chance to do the due diligence of showing what Percy Harvin could have been. Percy Harvin was a superstar, but the headaches and whatever else was going on with him that affected him. Another Minnesota just drafts these wide receivers that were ahead of his time. I think Percy Harvin would be thriving in the NFL today if he came out now. And Luther Burden's skill set does remind me of that. He's just not. I just don't think he's as twitchy or dynamic as Percy Harvin was. But after the catch ability, he's incredible. He's got good body control, good contact balance, play strength, breaks tackles. He's got good burst. So similar to like a running back build, like 6 foot 206. And when he gets the ball in his hands, he runs like a running back. He's really good at creating separations in his route, twitchy feet, good first step, good burst off the line. He's a joker.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't surprise me if Sean Payton ends up drafting this guy at 20 because you can move him around. You can utilize him as the backfield. He's a return specialist, manufactured touches. Missouri was doing everything with this guy. I got breaking news again.
Oh, my phone is on Do Not Disturb for a reason. What you got?
I have my computer open.
Oh.
The New England Patriots signed a wide receiver.
Keenan Allen.
Stephon Diggs.
Whoa. All right, New England.
Yeah. All right.
I like that a lot.
In the NFL, I think Burden likely ends up as a slot role gadget guy. Everybody wants to throw the Deebo Samuel nonsense out, but he's not Deebo Samuel.
I get it. I get why people are saying that, though. Just based off his build, and he does have a legitimate ability out of the backfield as a running back.
Yeah. He also, his hands were mostly reliable, but he did have some concentration drops this past year.
I like how you said mostly, because his hands are only there 50% of the time.
Yeah, the 2024 tape for him is a mystery because it's nowhere near as good
2023
as what his 2023 was. So it's a matter of figuring out where Luther Burden is. I lean more towards 2023 being where he's at, but the 2024 tape does concern me. I think that's where I end up with him at 6. I think the upside's there. It might be a mental thing for him. Maybe he's just doesn't have his head in the game if things aren't going right for him. I don't know. I'm not in his head, but I think that was the case this past year at Missouri. But the upside's there for him to be just a unique weapon on a really good offense.
Yeah, I really like what Burton brings to a team, and I am worried about some of the stuff he also does bring to a team. He is a double-edged sword for sure. He has really good body control, trying to get the ball in and out of tackles. He's really good at putting defenders backpedaling. Like another guy, initially when the ball snapped, he shot out of a fucking cannon, dude. He is gone. Yeah. And I like how he's able to get low on his brakes, keep guys guessing. He dips with his head. He knows how to cut. I don't know if he plays with his heart or what's going on. He checked out of games a lot. He's not there. He's not there mentally. I watched this guy. I'm not going to use the word quit, but I watched this guy not give it his all versus a couple of games, Alabama in particular. Towards the end of that game, he was not there. He checked out, and that's a mental thing. If you're going to bring that to my football team, I don't want it. And that's a big thing I have with Shedeur.
Yep.
And I can't sit here and not knock Luther Burton just because I like Luther Burton, but he brings the same kind of energy that's not really particularly wanted around the other 53 men. I've heard a lot of like Devo receiver talks. He's that prototypical, it's about me, I'm always coming first. So he comes with a lot of package and baggage. But man, he's special, dude. He is a talented individual. And you really seen it in 2023, dude. What he's able to bring to a football team is truly special. And if he's able to get his head right and get his heart fully back into whatever the hell was going on last year, Luther Burton could easily be the second, third most talented receiver in this draft class, maybe even the first, just based off what he can do. Can he do that consistently? That's what it comes down to.
Yep, his ceiling and what he can do is the sole reason I have him at 6 and not 7. Like, I would rather take Jalen Knoll, who's my 7th ranked receiver, over Luther Burton because he's a great floor, good base to start with, and he's not going to give me any problems. But he doesn't have the ceiling that Luther Burton, like Luther Burton gives me a wide receiver
possible.
One ceiling.
Exactly. Yeah. He has the ability to be an alpha wide receiver 1 just based off his traits and what his skill set is. Knoll doesn't really offer that, but Knoll's a way safer prospect. But Burton, dude, the brightest stars burn fast, and I think if he really does succeed, it's going to happen instantly, dude, and he's going to be a superstar right off the bat, or he's just going to fail and plummet. So we'll see what happens with Burton, but his ceiling is the reason I have him 5. I think he could be a superstar.
I would love him with Sean Payton. If Denver took him at 20,
it would be amazing. Yeah.
I think we're looking at a guy who's going top 5 in rookie drafts for fantasy, and I think you're getting a guy who's going to just produce right off the bat. He's the perfect complement to Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
And Denver's other receivers are just field stretchers. Marvin Mims, field stretcher. Troy Franklin, field stretcher.
Mm-hmm.
Devon Vele's just sort of there. Like, he's got a good skill set, but, like, I don't think he necessarily provides a lot to the receiving room. I think he's only doing it because of how weak the room is, so he kind of fits into this role that they can use him. Luther Burden gets there. I think that opens up things for Marvin Mims, who was really strong at the end of the year, to be the field stretcher. Cortland Sutton can do his thing, and Marvin Mims, or Luther Burden, gets to play this role where Sean Payton can do whatever he wants with him.
Yeah, I look at Cortland Sutton as a legitimate red zone threat. So what Burton's able to bring to that team with Sutton and Mims and a couple other guys like Franklin and Bo Nix winging the ball, dude, I think that'd be pretty special for Denver. I think Burton at his best is a really special player, but he brings a lot of baggage, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he falls out and ends up being drafted in the second round.
I agree. I think at the end of the day, him and Abuka, who we'll talk about at some point, are going to go in the second. Yeah. They're going to go pretty close, right, though. Those guys are going to go within like 10 picks of each other.
Yeah. Top 5. Yeah. I have Jaden Higgins at 5.
Uh-huh.
Iowa State, we talked about him. At 4, I have Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. At 3, I have Matthew Golden from Texas. At 2, I have Teteroa McMillan from Arizona. And at 1, if we're thinking he's a wide receiver, is Travis Hunter from Colorado.
Yeah, I threw Hunter on my list. I'll throw him on my corner list just because he's that dude. 5 was Luther Burton for me, Missouri. 4, Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State. 3, Matthew Golden, Texas. 2, Travis Hunter, Colorado. 1, Teteroa McMillan, Arizona.
All right. Let's go up the list. Let's talk Egbuka. Ohio State, 6'1", 212 pounds, 31.5-inch arms, 9.6, almost 7-inch hand, or 10-inch hands. About a little over 9.5 inches.
Good hand size. Love it.
Yeah. Such a polished route runner.
He is so clean, dude.
Yeah. I'm glad he went back because his 2023 tape with the injury was abysmal, and it was just like, dude, this guy, maybe he's not that good. Like, why is he at Ohio State? Like, this school that's produced all these talented receivers, and his 2023 tape, banged up, barely played. 2024, he came out, and he looked fantastic.
Yeah, his 2024 looked exactly like his 2022, and that's why he had all that hype in 2023, because of what he did in 2022. Like Restrepo, being the leading receiver in Miami history, Egbuka leads Ohio State receivers in receiving yard history. He is their most productive receiver in college history. And Ohio State has had countless receivers, and I get they all leave early, and that's where this comes in. Egbuka's played 4 years at Ohio State. He's had 4 seasons at a high productive school. Two of the 4, 1,000 yards. His freshman year, he didn't play. So essentially 2 of the 3 seasons, 1,000 yards. The other season, he got hurt. Egbuka is a really polished, clean prospect. You know what you're getting at the end of the day with Egbuka. He is, what he does is so clean and so efficient. He's great, dude. Like, and the more you watch him, the more you fall in love with him, and how clean he does stuff, how well he does stuff.
Yep.
He is literally watching like the Spurs offense play with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. Everything is so clean and so crisp and done at
nothing flashy, but
exactly
just done at a high level.
And there's no wasted motions. Everything he does is with a purpose, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Egbuka is going to be a really talented receiver at the end of the day.
Yep. He's got a great floor, really polished route runner, crisp feet. Rex Ryan would love it.
Oh, yeah.
His feet's so good. Rex Ryan salivating over here, over those pretty feet. Creates separation, really strong hands, ball skills, has no problems making a catch through traffic. Good hand-eye coordination. You can play him on the outside. People want to say he's just a slot guy. I don't buy it. I think you can play him on the outside. I'm in. I think he's better in the slot, but I think he can be an effective outside wide receiver.
He can do both.
Yeah, really good vision with the ball in his hands, finds the soft spots of zone, really good at reading coverage, high football IQ. He'll block his ass off. Like,
He blocks
noticed,
like Hines Ward blocks, dude. Like, and Hines Ward was block first. I'm going to get my hands dirty no matter what, and I'm going to put that guy on the ground, dude.
Yep. Like when watching Travion and Quinshawn, I noticed this guy was just locking on to dudes, and he'd be peeping over his shoulder, seeing if his guy got by, and so he can move on to the next target. But the injury concerns, he did miss all that time in 2023 with nagging injuries, and then doesn't have prototypical speed. Good burst, really elusive, but doesn't have elite speed to separate consistently against NFL corners. But he's just going to beat you with finesse and IQ. He's just going to be this really clean, good football player.
Yeah, he's not gonna put you on your ass with his speed, but he's gonna put you on his ass with his routes. He's gonna have you doing spins around, and you don't even know which way he's going, dude. He's so deceptive with his routes and his breaks, and Abuka is so much fun to watch, dude. And like the more you watch, the more you love him. So just keep watching Abuka's tape, dude. And you're like 4 or 5 games in, you're like, this dude's fucking great, dude. And like I like Golden, I like Ted, I like Hunter, but Abuka's just polished differently. Like, and I like all those other guys, but Abuka's so safe. He's so like, oh man, just keep talking about Abuka. I love him. And like you said, he's not gonna be a straight slot guy. Like Jackson Smith in the Jigba was a straight slot guy at Ohio State. He can do both, and it's very similar to Abuka here. They play almost a very similar game, and it's so clean, it's so crisp. And both those guys were together in 2023, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, honestly, if I'm Tennessee, I'm drafting
this
Cam
guy
Ward
is putting every receiver at Tennessee.
They need it. You really want to draft Cam Ward and leave him with Calvin Ridley?
That's what a guy you said, like 4 or 5 receivers going into Tennessee.
No, ideally, I want Restrepo and Kyle Williams to get back with Cam Ward. I don't think those are realistic situations. I think Ibuka to Tennessee
in the second
is something that can happen.
Yeah,
but if I'm Tennessee, I'm moving back into the first. I'm calling Philly, Kansas City. I'm just guaranteed because Cleveland and the Giants are in front of me. Both of them could draft Ibuka at 33 and 34. I'm moving back into the first and getting him because he's the perfect complement to the big playability that Calvin Ridley brings. But I think in terms of developing Cam Ward and hoping he tones down the superhero play, you get him an option like Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah.
I think that is the perfect receiver to pair with Cam Ward. Like, he'd be the top receiver on my Tennessee big board.
No, Tennessee's definitely walking out of the draft with a receiver. I'm just busting your balls. But Tennessee's definitely drafting a receiver.
I think I put more guys in New England than I did Tennessee.
Oh, I don't know. You said like 3 or 4 guys going to Tennessee. Draft them all.
I was putting Betch, Higgins, Knoll, Restrepo, all New England. Maybe not now. They signed Steph Diggs. Ibuka's good.
Yeah, he's clean. He's so good. Polished. At the end of the day, he's what you want out of a receiving prospect because you know what you're going to get. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Ibuka's going to be a good receiver if he's able to stay healthy.
Yeah. All right, Matthew Golden, Texas, 5'11", 191, a little under 31-inch arms, 9.5-inch hands. Ran the 4.29,
and then
doesn't show on tape.
And then dipped.
1.49-10 split. Yeah. I'm good. He showed what the weakness, like on tape. I didn't think he was fast.
Yep.
I didn't think he had elite speed, and he went out and ran. Really good route runner, really crisp. He creates separation at all 3 levels of the field. You can move him around. Pretty good contested catch ability despite his size. I thought he was one of the better receivers I watched in contested catch situations. Stretches the field. Like the speed doesn't match the 4.29, but he's a field stretcher. Like he is what Isaiah Bond was supposed to be for this offense, and it became Matthew Golden, and he's a special teams ace. Like, he's a really good kick returner. So, like, I ended up liking him way more than I thought I was going to. Like, I was just like, okay, people have him as, like, wide receiver 1 if you're excluding Travis Hunter, like Daniel Jeremiah, Todd McShay. They all have this guy over Tetairoa McMillan. I ended up having him graded really close to Tet, and I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought he was going to be more towards, like, Ibuka and Burden and Higgins. I think Matthew Golden's going to be a top 20 prospect on my big board. Tet's going to be top 15. I think they're going to be really close. I do worry about the consistency. He struggled with drops more so in Houston than he did at Texas, but it was still there. And then the productivity in 2 seasons at Houston, he had 988 yards. This season at Texas, he had 987. So he's never been a 1,000-yard guy. And then when he was in Houston, he missed time with injuries, so durability. But I wasn't open to him being drafted, say, by Green Bay if he's there. But I think Matthew Golden has wide receiver one upside. And I think he's on the board for the Packers now. But I think he's an excellent football player. I loved his tape.
Yeah, dude, I'll just keep comparing people to Tank Dell because I love Tank Dell and he needs all the shout outs he can get because he's probably going to miss all of next season. Matthew Golden and Tank Dell are legitimate teammates in Houston. They play together. Matthew Golden runs routes like Tank Dell. They have the exact same footwork. They are so quick and shifty, and they're just amazing, clean route runners at the end of the day. What Golden brings to a team is very special, dude. I don't have him as close to Tet as a lot of people are above him. I think there's a gap in buckets. I think Golden sits in his own bucket, though. He's a really good prospect. I like him more than Burton and Ibuka, which I did not think I was going to. I was for sure. I was like, I like Ibuka a lot. I like Burton a lot. There's no way I put Golden over them. And Golden's ability to adjust and like move his body into weird contorted ways almost to get the ball, dude, it's crazy. The way he high points and he outruns defenders. He's a special receiver, dude. I didn't think he had this in him or the it factor. He has it. He's gonna be a dog.
Yep. And he was later into the process. Like he had a really good back end of the year with like Isaiah. Well, after Isaiah Bond got hurt, Matthew Golden really took over, became the one, and he had a strong playoff, and a lot of that went into it. But like if you watch the early in the season stuff, like he wasn't getting as much work from Quinn Ewers, but when he did, it was still there. Like it matched it. Like, oh, this guy's it. Like, why isn't Texas peppering this dude with targets? Like he's good. Like clearly the best receiver on the field.
Yeah, he wasn't forced into the offense as much early on, but he was still making an impact on that team, dude. And, like, this is what Bond was supposed to do, and that's what worries me. Like, Bond was supposed to be the dog. He was supposed to be the guy. And then all of a sudden, Golden's just so much more talented. He runs cleaner. He runs faster than Bond, who is a world track athlete. There's
on tape, though, Isaiah Bond looks faster than Matthew Golden.
Bond plays faster than Golden. He does. Like, Bond's top speed plane blows Golden's out of the water. Golden doesn't play at the 4.29 that he ran. No. Where Bond plays fast, Bond's able to keep the speed up that he gets. Golden burns out really fast. He's able to get to that speed. He can't maintain it like Bond does. But so I get the longevity track record that Bond has, but Golden's really good in like short, quick burst, and that's gonna get him that separation that he needs, and then he's just he's gone, dude.
Yeah, I think Matthew Golden has like a Keenan Allen trajectory. I think that's like the kind of career we could be looking at for Matthew Golden, is just how good Keenan Allen was at his peak. Like, not your prototypical wide receiver one in size, but toughness, playmaking ability. Keenan Allen was there. I think Golden's a better athlete.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
than
for
Allen
sure.
was. But like, I think that's what we're looking at. Like, I think that's the career path Matthew Golden is trending towards. At least that's how I project him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna comp him to Keenan Allen, but a couple 1,000-yard seasons under his belt, I think he's gonna be a really good, productive one for a team.
Yeah. All right. You want to talk about Tet, or do you want to do Travis?
No, let's run Tet, and then we'll main event with the top dog in the process. I get it.
Yeah. All right. Tetairoa McMillan, Arizona. I have him at 2. You have him at 1. 6'4", 219, 31.5-inch arms, 10-inch hands. The size, elite size, massive catch radius. Just like we talked about with Jaden Higgins, really strong hands, great body control, ball tracker. Like he adjusts so well. He's a downfield threat, contested catch machine. Like people want to say contested catches are 50-50 balls. It's more like 80-20 with Tetairoa McMillan. He's going to bring him in. I like his route running. I thought he was crisp, fluid. You know, did have stiff hips at times, but that's going to come with a guy who's 6'4".
It comes with the size. Yeah.
Yep. Like, he's not the best after catch. The acceleration's not really there, but if you could hit him with the long strides, he can go a little bit because he knows how big he is. He takes those big steps. I didn't think he was overly physical, but again, he's more finesse like anyway, so I'm not expecting him. He's physical where it matters in terms of the contested catch situations, red zone targets. He's physical there.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see that physicality 100% of the time for him.
I agree.
And then the top level speed, he ran a 4.55 or whatever it was at his pro day, but again, this is a dude who's going to beat you off finesse and IQ, a la Puka Nacua, a la Cooper Kupp. Like, I actually think he's a little bit better athlete than both those guys. Like, I lean towards him more being like Nico, a little bit slower Nico Collins.
Mm-hmm. I'll throw out like a more athletic Vincent Jackson is how I see him play. I see him just body smaller guys, and he's still able to outrun some other guys, even though he's 6'4" and huge. He's one of the more productive college receivers in history. His freshman year was 700 yards, 8 touchdowns. 2023 was 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns. This year was a little bit of a step back with 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns.
His quarterback's cheeks, though. No offense to his buddy Noah Fafita. I know they've been together since high school. That guy ain't it.
That's what it is. Like, he did this with a terrible. He had 1,400 yards last season and 1,300 yards this year. 18 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons, 26 in the last 3. He's a red zone machine, dude. And that comes with his size and his hands and his ability to high point the ball. But it's not just his size, dude. Like, he runs clean routes at 6'4". And he doesn't have a deep route tree, but what he does have, they're all polished and they're clean. The separation isn't there, I get. It's there a little bit, but for a guy that's 6'4", it's not going to be like Jalen Royals or Noel. Those guys separate with the best of them. Tet can't do that. Larry Fitzgerald didn't separate elitely. He was just bigger, better, and smarter than everybody else to be able to outbody you. And like Larry Fitzgerald had a longevity speed, I don't think Tet has that. I don't think Tet's taken 70, 80-yard catches to the house. So
he's not bulldozing guys either. No, Larry Fitzgerald is a fullback.
And his physicality, like you said, is probably my biggest knock on Tet. For a guy this size, I want you to be a little bit more physical. But like you said, dude, he's going to beat you down with a finesse, and he's still going to be able to get the job done at the end of the day, like finesse-wise, to be not as powerful as he needs to be. And I think he can get more of that dog mentality in him over time. But I don't know. Like, people are bad-mouthing this year's tape compared to last year's tape. I disagree, dude.
Yeah, like this downfall that people are trying to proclaim on the Tetairoa McMillan, dude. That it's the classic draft pendulum swinging too far. It happened with Drake May last year. It's happened this year with a handful of guys as well, and now it's happening with Tetairoa McMillan. I think it's just out of sight, out of mind. He didn't do any of the workouts, so he's just kind of not doing anything. And Arizona's season ended really early. They weren't a bowl team, so
that's also what it comes down to. Like,
he's been out of the eye for a long time, whereas all these guys are fresh in our mind. But I've told you, like, I don't see him as an elite number 1 wide receiver. I value him more towards like a mid-tier number 1. Like, I still think he can be a number 1. I think he's an elite level number 2 at worst. I think that's his floor. Really productive player. Despite the average quarterback play, he carries himself well. He's going to be a great interview. He always speaks highly of his teammates and improving his game. I do think there's a shot that maybe his game's a little slower to translate to the next level. Like, maybe his first year or two, he's not as productive and people are going to get, oh, he's a bust. But I think he takes that step. I think it's just sort of like Drake London. Drake London's game, slower to, he was never a 1,000-yard receiver till this year. Yeah. Drake London took that step, and I think Tetairoa and Nico Collins, same way. 3rd year, big boom year for those. I think that's the path he's more likely to go down. But I think once he gets his footing and transitions to the NFL and adapts, he's going to be a mid-tier number 1 wide receiver. I'm talking like the 15 to 20 range.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you have to look at, like, big body receivers usually aren't the receivers who have 1,500 yards because they're 50-50 ball guys. Their seasons are constantly different. Like, look at DK Metcalf's seasons. There are seasons where he's barely over 1,000 yards, but then he has like 1 or 2 seasons where it's 1,400 yards. because it's the 50-50 balls aren't going to come down the same way every single year.
Even Mike Evans, some years he's barely over 1,000 and he's got 15 touchdowns. There are other years where he's got 1,200, but he's only got 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of career I think Tet's going to have, where I think he's going to have these huge spike seasons because of how talented he is, where he's 1,200, 1,300 yards. But then I think he's going to kind of float around the 900 to 1,100 yards a season. But I think he's going to have these huge boom seasons because he at the end of the day, he's a better football player than most guys in the NFL.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the pendulum will get back towards the middle. And I think he's going to still be the first receiver off the board if you're excluding Travis Hunter.
Receiver.
And I think he's going to end up in the top 10. Like I'm more buying into the chance that Carolina takes him at 8. I know I hate Carolina going receiver, but Legette's not a true number 1. Adam Thielen's going to be 36. Jalen Coker's just a good number 2. Mm-hmm. So you get an alpha potential in Tetaroa there for Bryce Young. Adam Thielen, you phase him out next year. He's going to be 36. He might retire. I think Jalen Coker can slide into his role nicely and be a slot guy. Mm-hmm. And Xavier Legette, your manufactured touch, twitchy, just athlete of a receiver out there. So, before, Carolina was like, they don't need a receiver. Mm-hmm. But they do. I think they need an alpha. And I think Tetaroa McMillan at 8, I'm more into it than I was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think his window really opens up with, the Jets. I think that's when Tet's window opens. You got the Jets at, I think, 7. You got Carolina at 8. You got New Orleans at 9. You got Dallas at 12. I think
I wouldn't rule out San Francisco at 11 either.
Yeah, that's true. But I think Tet and Golden are going to be the first 2 pure receivers taken, if you're not counting Hunter. And they're going to go, I think, pretty early. I think they're going to both be off the board earlier than most people think.
I think they're both top 20 picks.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Travis Hunter, Colorado. I have him at 1. You have him at 2.
Yeah.
6 foot, half-inch tall, 188 pounds, slender frame. A little over 31-inch arms, a little over 9-inch hands. Travis Hunter, man. The hype around Travis Hunter.
It's real.
Is it overblown?
Nope.
Yeah, I guess. But do I think at this point in the draft cycle, is he underrated and underappreciated? Yes.
100%.
I think the pendulum, again,
the draft fatigue.
Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking about Travis Hunter for 2 years. But who am I to doubt this kid and his aspirations to play both sides of the ball? And I hope whoever drafts him gives him that opportunity. Until we see it fail, he should be playing both sides because that's what he wants to do. Maybe he is the generational Hall of Fame talent that he's been hyped up to be. No one's ever done it. There's a rule breaker to everything. Mavis Travis Hunter is that rule breaker. And if he does fail or he can't do it, you got a potentially elite wide receiver and an elite corner. Figure out where he's best at or figure out where you need him the most, put him there. But I've told you, I view Travis Hunter almost like I did Marvin Harrison and Malik Nabers as wide receiver prospects. I have him in that bucket with those guys. I think he's insanely athletic, obviously, playing wide receiver, corner. I don't have to go into detail there. His ball skills, his body control, he shows up when it matters. He's such a big game player. He and Shedeur and Dion, they put Colorado on the map. No one watched Colorado football till those 3 got there, and I think those 3 were the big purpose. His durability, will he hold up? Who knows? We won't know until it happens. He's an okay route runner, but he's got so much room to grow. He's got to polish up a little bit, and then it's really his size and frame. 188, 6'1.5". That's not prototypical wide receiver size, but the way he moves, the way he bends, the way he plays receiver reminds me so much of Justin Jefferson. But I think his ceiling's more like Garrett Wilson.
That's who he reminds me. I think exactly who he reminds me of.
Is a alpha number 1 wide receiver.
The way he plays receiver, I literally watched Garrett Wilson. I went back and watched Ohio State Garrett Wilson. I'm like, let me just see if what I'm seeing does translate. It's so similar, dude. The way they get in between defenders. Ball tracking ability, Travis Hunter probably is the best ball tracking ability I've ever seen out of a fucking player. And I think it's his corner ability. I really think it's his corner. His corner ability shines at receiver, and it's vice versa on the other side of the ball. But him high pointing that ball over defenders is crazy, dude. And his hands are so strong and reliable. You know he's coming down with that ball, dude. Hunter's special, dude. And like you said, I also have him very close to Marv, Neighbors, Rome, and I also have Tet in that same boat with those 5 guys. I have very similar, and I think they're warranted of a top 8 pick. Neighbors, Hunter, Rome all went top 10. I think Hunter, Tet all should go top 10. Tet might fall because of, I don't know, size. The NFL might not see him.
Whatever.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hunter's not going to fall out of the top 6. So he's that dude. Like, it doesn't matter what side of the ball you're playing on him. I think it kind of matters where he gets drafted. Like, I think New England, he's a receiver. The Giants, he can go both sides. Cleveland's a mismatch.
Cleveland's a receiver. That their general manager's already come out. He sees Travis Hunter as a receiver.
I would say he's a receiver there. But I would love, this is the guy I want with Drake May. The way he's able to track the ball and Drake May's able to wing that ball down the field. Hunter's coming down with it because he's so good at tracking deep balls, dude. He's a special receiver at the end of the day. His routes are clean. He's in and out of breaks. His wiggle, his separation, it's all there. I get the appeal,
and he has room to grow.
Oh,
as a receiver.
Agree. Yeah,
I think at floor his best bet in the NFL is a corner. I think he'll be a really good corner, and I think that's his safest bet. But I think his highest ceiling is a wide receiver.
I think he's almost maxed out on where he can be at a corner. I think like his skills are pretty much developed. That this is what we're getting out of Travis Hunter as a corner. Like you said, dude, his receiving room can grow. And for a guy that's almost on par that I have with Rome, Neighbors, Harrison, and Tet, that's a special ability, dude. And I have him at 2 pure receiver right under Tet. I don't want to make it sound like Tet's leaps and bounds better than Hunter as a pure receiver. But if we're going off just pure receiver,
you're just evaluating him as a receiver, not a prospect.
Yeah, I'm going Tet a little bit over Hunter. But when you throw that corner ability onto Travis Hunter, what he already is a receiver, he's a top 3 prospect in this draft easily, dude. And that's with fucking Abdul Carter, who's an elite pass rusher. You got Genty, who's an elite running back. Tyler Warren, who's an elite tight end prospect. And Travis Hunter is still right there as a receiver corner, generational prospect. He's that dude.
Yep.
I know going early in, he was my receiver 3. I bumped him up. He has it, dude. He's right there with all those other guys we brought up the last 2 years. I hope he gets a shot to play both sides of the ball. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I hope he does. But I think he's going to get a shot to be full-time, either one of the other, and then he's going to do like the other one at 40%, which I'm still cool with. I think he still plays both sides a little bit.
He was my receiver 1 going into the process. He's still my receiver 1. I can tell you he's gonna be my corner 1. Spoiler alert: he's gonna be number 1 on my top 1.
Yeah, I get it.
I think he's the best player in the draft. I'm not budging on Travis Hunter. I think he's that dude. All right. Top 15 receivers, top 20 technically, in the books. Quick recap: at 15, I have Isaiah Bond from Texas. I have Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech at 14. I have Torrey Horton from Colorado State at 13. Trey Harris from Ole Miss at 12. Jalen Royals from Utah State at 11. Kyle Williams, Washington State at 10. Xavier Restrepo from Miami at 9. Jack Betch from TCU at 8. Jalen Knoll, Iowa State at 7. Luther Burden III, Missouri at 6. Jaden Higgins, Iowa State at 5. Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State at 4. Matthew Golden, Texas at 3. Teteroa McMillan, Arizona at 2. And then number 1, obviously, Travis Hunter, Colorado.
Hell yeah. Top 15. 15, Tez Johnson, Oregon. 14, Kyle Williams, Washington State. 13, Ty Felton, Maryland. 12, Savon Williams, TCU. 11, Xavier Restrepo, Miami. 10, Jalen Royals, Utah State. 9, Jack Betch, TCU. 8, Jaden Higgins, Iowa State. 7, Trey Harris, Ole Miss. 6, Jalen Knoll, Iowa State. Top 5, Luther Burton, Missouri. 4, Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State. Matthew Golden, Texas at 3. 2, Travis Hunter, Colorado. 1, Teteroa McMillan, Arizona. Top 15 in the books. It's a deep receiver class. It's not loaded with talent, but there's a lot of good NFL receivers at the end of the day in this class, dude.
Yeah. I ended up liking the class a little more than I thought I was. I think there's some good depth here. Not a lot up top, sans, Hunter and Ted, maybe even Matthew Golden. He might fall into that, but after that, there's just a lot of really good, just safe product. Ibuka, Burden, Higgins. I love all these guys. Like, I ended up really liking the class a lot more than I thought it was. It's, a weak class per se, but not all classes can have Marvin Harrison, Brian Thomas, Roman Dunze, and Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, last year was blessed receiver-wise. This year we're blessed with other positions. But there wasn't
depth, though.
Yeah, exactly.
There wasn't a lot of depth.
To where we're going, like, I expect a lot of these guys in the third, like I said, third, fourth, fifth round. These are guys that are going to make NFL impacts and be on teams for probably a second contract. And that's a rare thing. So it's not a deep, talented class, but it's a really good, deep class in terms of guys that are going to be NFL players.
Yeah. All right. Drafted Up Podcast. Couch Scout wide receiver rankings in the books. We're done offense. This is our only episode this week. We're not going to put anything out Thursday. We got a lot going on. Plus, we got to start prepping for defensive stuff. So, defensive schedule. We're going to do linebackers and safeties together because we're getting crunch time to the draft.
It's like 30 days, corners, dude. It's like 31 days, dude. It's right around the corner, dude.
Exactly a month from today, I believe. So we'll do linebackers and safeties together. We'll do corners separate, and then edge and interior, they might each get their own episode. If not, we'll combo them together. We'll see on that one. It might be
a little hard to combo those guys because how deep those positions are.
Especially the edge class. Yeah. The edge class really deep.
I think interior goes really. I think there's gonna be 30 some interior guys drafted.
Yeah. I think the interior is more top heavy.
I agree.
I haven't fully dove in to that class, but yeah. So we'll look at that, and then we'll try to get you at least one more combo mock, obviously, and then we'll have our top 100 big board. And if time allows, maybe we'll squeeze in like a short episode where we like just review each other's mocks. We'll see about that. But we'll schedule outside the podcast. That'll do it. Drafted Up Podcast. You know where to follow us at DraftedUp_pod over on Twitter/X. Like, rate, subscribe, review, all that stuff on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. The Odyssey app, Apple. We're all there. Just search Drafted Up Podcast. You'll
this
find
guy
us.
Just named.
Thanks, guys. As always,
an app I don't even know, dude.
The Odyssey. I don't even
know what that is, dude.
When I googled our name, it popped up that we're there. So
we're on there.
It's the RSS feed. Whatever. Okay. You know where to find us. If you're new, subscribe. Thanks for listening. Making through the whole show. This was a long one.
Had to be. A lot of guys.
Yeah. Check out the other Couch Scout stuff if you haven't dove into those to find our rankings on the other offensive positions. And thank you, as always, as listening to the Drafted Up Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.
Let us know your receiver rankings. Let us know what you thought. Where you guys got ranked. Adios, y'all.
Yeah. Who do you want? Who do you want your team to draft?
Yeah.
If you need a receiver.
Yeah, let us know what late round receiver you like.
Tennessee and New England.
Yeah, exactly. We're just handing out 4 receivers to 2 teams, so it's all good.
Yeah. Adios, guys.
Bye.